Colonial Park Post Office in honor of the Tuskegee Airmen. I'm going to be your MC today. My name is Alan Tanko. I'm the marketing manager for the Postal Service here in both the Manhattan and the Bronx areas. As we begin, I'd like to ask everyone to stand for the presentation of the colors by the United States Postal Inspection Service Postal Police Honor Guard. No, I'll announce after.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I'd ask everyone to please remain standing and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. We have a number of special guests that have joined us today, and I will ask you to hold your applause in the interest of time until we complete the acknowledgments, and I ask forgiveness for any of those who are here today who I may not have mentioned. Special thank you to the Honorable Charles B. Rangel. Tuskegee Airmen Wilfred DeFore. Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer. New York State Senator Brian Benjamin. New York State Assemblyman Al Taylor. New York State Assemblywoman Inez Dickens. New York City Councilman Bill Perkins. New York Tuskegee Alumni Associate President Lisa Johnson Hodges. Postal Police Officer Dawn Antonick. Postal Police Officer Tanya Wesley. And Postal Police Officer Jennifer White. And our New York District Manager Lorraine Castellano. And of course, Congressman Espinal, without whom we would not have all been gathered here today. Let us please welcome our first speaker, representing New York District's 13th Congressional District, Representative Espinal.
And as Al Taylor has taught me, if you can pronounce Esplanade, you can pronounce Espaillat. Well, good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. This is a very special moment for all of us. This is particularly a special morning for the Harlem community. And first, let me start by thanking the men and women of the U.S. Postal Service for the work that they do. They do so much with so very little. In fact, you know that this business of postal service has changed dramatically with the internet and the technological revolution, and more packages than letters now in some cases. And we saw how recently they were exposed to danger when unfortunately several bomb attempts were sent through post offices across the nation. And so we must thank them for their service and the work that they do on a daily basis and the efforts that they make to get our mail on time. So very often we just hear complaints, but I think that as everything in life, Congressman, when everything goes right, it's our victory. When one thing goes wrong, it's one person's fault, right? And so I want to commend you for the work that you do. And I want to commend Juliet Francis Young, who's here, the RSAP manager. Also the supervisor, Lakeisha Perryman, and Erica Lerman for being here. Thank you all for being here. And as you know, this is a special event for the Tuskegee Airmen. And we have one of those airmen here today. He's a special person because he just recently celebrated being 100 years young. And he was raised in Harlem. He went to Dewitt Clinton High School just like the congressman did. I think they were classmates. No. The congressman was a little bit younger. We're going to look up that yearbook and find out the congressman was there with you. But he served in the 366th Air Service Squadron of the U.S. Army Air Corps and later the 332nd Fighter Group, military advisors and personnel known as the Tuskegee Airmen of World War II. Yes. He worked as an aircraft technician, working on many of the planes flown by the Tuskegee Airmen, and that's everything. If you're the mechanic of the airplanes, everybody's life is on your hands. And so he did a fantastic job. In fact, Mr. DeFore painted the tails of the aircraft red by hand that lent the airmen's signature name of the Red Tails. The Red Tails. We even have a young swimming team over a riverbank, which is called the Red Tails. And so this is a name that has prevailed throughout history. And following his military career, he worked for the U.S. Postal Service for 33 years. So he has a personal interest in this, if you may. He's got skin in the game, as they say. and he is no other than Mr. Wilfred R. IV Sr. Please rise and give him a hand for all the work that he's done throughout the year. I could only aspire in my wildest dream to be in such great shape when I reach that young age. But we're here to give greetings to all of you, obviously, and to everyone in attendance as we gather to honor the legacy and impact of the Tuskegee Airmen with today's renaming ceremony to designate this U.S. Postal facility as the Tuskegee Airmen Post Office Building. As I said before, the Tuskegee Airmen was a popular name given to the first all-black squadron activated into service by the U.S. Army Air Corps in 1941 during the peak of World War II. They were really known for breaking the racial barriers in the military and were active in fighting against Jim Crow in the South. Renaming this post office facility after the Tuskegee Airmen is a fitting tribute to the honor their memory and contributions to this country has been. And I am honored to have passed legislation in a troubling Congress that hopefully will be, this time around next year, a little bit smoother because of your help. So give yourself a round of applause. It is a fitting tribute to honor their memory and contributions to this country. And I'm honored, as I said, to pass legislation that was signed into law to help bring this event into fruition. Joining us today is our very special guest, Mr. William DeFord Sr., obviously. And as I said, he was raised in Harlem. But please also allow me to recognize other folks that are here. But I will do that by first introducing our first speaker, who's here with us today, and who has had a long, distinguished career in the U.S. Congress. And he is known still as the Lion of Lenox Avenue. Now, the lion is not just any common animal. The lion is the king of the jungle. And of course, for many years, this gentleman was so instrumental in making our neighborhood a better place for all of us to live in. And it is my pleasure to have succeeded him in the U.S. Congress. Please give a good round of applause to the Honorable Charles B. Rangel.
Good morning, gang.
Good morning.
And Adriano, thank you so much for doing almost the impossible in that cesspool in Washington. When people say, I miss you being in Washington, I said, I'm glad he's down there, not me. But it's remarkable to get the type of bipartisan support to be able to bring us all together. You probably heard the expression in the street. It was a commercial where someone says, I needed that. I really needed that. And I think we needed this. We needed this in this time of reviewing the contributions that we've made to this great republic. And we have people walking around because we have a diseased White House talking about woe, woe, woe is us. No, hell no. We haven't even begun to fight. Can you imagine our country being attacked by Japanese, Italians, and Germans, And through the poison of racism and segregation, a group of human beings of color have to fight for the right to defend this nation? Oh no, we needed this, Congressman. We needed this. And Mr. DeFore, I've talked with Roscoe Brown and Percy Sutton and a whole lot of you, and God bless you, because I left Korea with a couple of medals. People in my outfit call them track medals, but I got back home and they called it Purple Heart and Bronze Star. But if somebody was to ask me to get in a propeller plane to shoot down some white folks in a jet, my discharge would have been other than honorable. It takes a special kind of courage at a time where the nation is treating you worse than they treat their home dogs to say, I love this country, and the best way to improve it is to put my life on the line. And so through you, we send a message to our president. We send a message through the spirit of Tuskegee Airmen. No matter what they did to keep that flag flying, what they did to preserve democracy, that they should know that it has instilled in us the will to resist the racism that still is planted so deep in this country. And just because there was a fluke in the election, just because someone who couldn't make it any place in the world was able to screen through our democracy, we have sent a signal, and we send you back to Congress to let them know that you have put in our heart the spirit of keeping us flying forever and ever. And so, yes, my congressman, we needed this. We needed this to remind all of us that it takes a special type of person to be able to survive slavery and chains and bolts and trips across the Atlantic. It takes a special kind of people to be able to survive when just walking down the street you could be shot down and lynched. A special kind of people that because of your color, you carry a stigma in this great republic that the whole world knows that we have this disease. But it takes a special type of spirit for people to volunteer to fight in the sky against those who try to darken the improved history of this great country. So thank you. We needed this.
Boy, and I have to follow him now. Well, let's also take this opportunity to thank Congressman Rangels for his years of service in the armed forces, in the Korea conflict. And he hasn't had a bad day since. And let's also recognize Lisa Johnson Hodges, president of the New York Tuskegee Alumni. And Mrs. Thompson, her uncle Samuel Wesley Henderson was also a Tuskegee Airman. And Mrs. Amelia Montgomery, who's Damney Montgomery. Boy, you're running for office? The wife of the distinguished Damney Montgomery, who I had the pleasure to visit this summer at a street naming. And with that, having recognized the support system, it's important to know that the Tuskegee Airmen do not stand alone. There is a support system, a safety net, that's there to ensure that the legacy of these great fighters is kept alive and moving forward. That it does not perish in the chapters of history. That it will be very active and aligned with technology in the future. That it will be in the highways of the internet. And young people from throughout the world will know who they are, because they did so much, as the congressman said, with very poor equipment, facing what was then state-of-the-art armaments and weapons, and probably were more accurate in their efforts than any other previous or post-air unit in the history of our military establishment. So I thank you. And with that, I want to ask our Tuskegee Airmen, who's here with us today, our friend, our hero, Tuskegee Airman Wilford D. Ford, to come forward and say a couple of words, please.
Thank you very much. Okay. Well, thank you all for being here. I had no idea that I was going to ask to speak, but here I am, so I've got to say something, right? Absolutely. Well, listen, now, this is indeed an honor, really. And I regret that so many of my comrades are no longer here with us, you see? But it was a great experience. We didn't know that we were making history at the time. We were just doing our job. That's about the size of it. And I must say that after looking back at it, everyone was pleased with what we did. What we did our best, and our best was the greatest. And I thank you all for coming. And I want you to know that I appreciate everything that's going on here. I appreciate it very, very, very much. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, there we go.
Give it to him? Yes. Have him sit down. Have him be comfortable. I want to deliver to Mr. DeFore this act of Congress that was signed into law. You can avoid that crazy signature that's kind of big and distorted, but what it really means is that this nation is very proud of you, and now your name as a Tuskegee Airman is enshrined in the minutes of Congress, in the acts of Congress, forever to come. Okay, moving right along. We want to okay, so now we're going to hear from state officials. And I hear through the grapevine that Democrats are in complete control of the state legislature. You know what that means. We're expecting a lot from you. It's easy to be in the opposition. You just have to learn to say no. But when you govern, but when you're in the majority, you have the responsibility to produce and to make everybody know that they chose well to have you run government. And so please, with that, allow me to welcome our New York State Senator, Brian Benjamin.
Thank you. Good morning. First, I want to thank the Post Office. I want to thank Congressman Espaillat for this historic moment. And also obviously our Tuskegee Airmen and all who have served. As we all know, recently we celebrated Veterans Day. And one of the things that was so clear to me was we had so many people of African American descent who went overseas and fought in wars and had no idea how they would be treated when they got home. Matter of fact, many of you know about the Harlem Hellfighters and the fact when Henry Johnson in particular, amongst others, came back to this country after heroic bravery in foreign lands, came back, got no resources, ended up dying penniless, and not even being honored by the country that they fought for. So when I come here today and I'm able to be a part of a conversation that includes this post office being renamed Tuskegee Airmen Post Office, I'm proud because I know that means our country is moving in the right direction. We're late on this post office, but we're moving in the right direction. And I am very proud to say that our congressman has done very well because it's easy to talk, as he mentioned. It's another thing to produce. But today we produced, and I agree wholeheartedly with Congressman Rangel's comments, that what we have in the White House is of enormous issues for me. I know we got cameras around here, so let me, but we're gonna move in the right direction in moments like today and honoring people. I believe you should honor people while they're alive, not wait for them to be in the ground before you tell them you believe in them. So thank you for this time, and thank our congressman for helping to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And now we're going to hear from our local assembly member who has been very active. And I'm afraid to give him the mic because on Sundays he has the mic because he's a preacher. And we could very well, now that we had the changing hours, we could very well be here till dark. But he is someone that I know for many years. He worked very closely with the late and great Herman Denny Farrell, who was my mentor in politics. And now he's doing a great job at continuing that great legacy. Please welcome Assemblyman Al Taylor.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is indeed an honor to be here this morning. I think about myself, and I'm just going to pause there for a second. I want to thank the congressman for taking this initiative and the post office for joining in, and Mr. Defoe for the service, the unappreciated service. And as he said, we did it. We didn't know we were making history. But I want to talk to the heart of what it takes to get what you did accomplished. And I want to talk about the heart of what it takes to keep us alive. I was in a room last night with Vi Higgins and a whole lot of different folks, Bob Law, and we were talking about Harlem and the changing of Harlem. And this is a rock or a stone that says, no matter what comes, I'm going to